I am tripping out a little bit tonight.
Oh,
Either you
really?
had your camera reversed the other night, or
Mm.
you changed your door so your door opened from the other side now.
Yeah, the posters should read correctly this time. I think my camera was reversed last time.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
in
Must-
fact, I should even mention that I opened my door last time and you thought, and I tricked you, didn't I, into thinking that that was a ghost perhaps, but that was just me. I should be absolutely clear. I hoaxed that. That was
Wow.
not real.
Wow. Hoaxer Tim here
That's
on
right. I
Spaced Out Radio.
inadvertently tricked your audience and I apologize for that because I don't want to appear as a hoaxer.
That's okay. That's okay. A lot
Okay,
of times what
being
happens
serious.
is
Okay.
my eyes are always moving. I'm watching the chat room. I'm watching the time. I'm watching the screen. So when something catches out of the corner of my eye that
Yeah,
I don't have time to understand
and
that.
I can bump this, or sometimes I'm opening it or closing it because I'm trying to get oxygen in this little room. So I apologize to your audience if they thought I was being serious with my mystery door.
There you
I
go.
was just being
There you go.
tricky, and I apologize for
We'll accept that. We'll accept
that.
that.
All right.
All right, my friend. There was some big news over the last 48 hours here coming out of Travis Taylor, major scientist, and the Skinwalker Ranch's Brandon Fugel, who was really defending Travis Taylor, his head scientist at Skinwalker Ranch, all because Mr. Taylor had a secret job. Let's get right to this tonight, Tim.
That's right. And so one of the Pentagon's chief UFO experts has revealed his identity for the first time and claims he has seen countless mystery crafts. So, after writing a book on how the US government should prepare for alien contact, Dr. Travis Taylor was offered the job of chief scientist for the Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon Task Force, the organization created by Congress to track UFO sightings. And so, hidden right in plain sight, Dr. Taylor has been long known for a top investigator of UFOs and the paranormal at Skinwalker Ranch, as well as other History Channel programs. However, unbeknownst to all but a handful of people, he was living a double life as the chief scientist for the Pentagon's UAP task force. And so now we have this new information coming to light, and perhaps we're going to see a new replacement in the public eye for Luis Elizondo as our first point of contact. What do you think about that, Dave?
Well, I was watching on Twitter after the show last night and even before, and watching Brandon Fugel get absolutely a little forward, shall we say, with a lot of people who were really questioning whether or not Travis Taylor was pulling the wool over the scientists at Skinwalker Ranch and whether or not that Brandon Fugel knew that his chief scientist was really a government agent. And there were a lot of questions on whether or not, Tim, if Brandon Fugel should fire Travis Taylor for being dishonest, so to speak. However, Brandon Fugel, owner of Skinwalker Ranch, came to the defense of Travis Taylor, saying him not telling him was something that was very, very impressive. He wasn't upset, and that Taylor apologized for holding the secret tight to his chest, and that Fugel said that really says a lot about the integrity of the man, let alone the position that he has been put in responsibility for. But I also believe, too, that maybe this also outs Brandon Fugel a little bit in that he might be a little bit more tied to the government than we think of him as a realtor and real estate guru in the state of Utah, who's worth probably a couple $100 million, if not more. What's your opinion?
Well, I think the fact that we didn't know that Travis Taylor was a part of the UAP task force speaks quite highly to his credibility to be able to compartmentalize his work so significantly. To be able to maintain confidentiality and NDAs is incredibly important to this topic, and to be able to parse out information as it's requested and to the people that it's delegated to, I think is crucial. And so, I love the idea of transparency, but I also understand the need for classification up into the point where it can safely be released to the public. And a lot of that goes in the vetting of information before it's released. And so, a lot of this threat narrative is going to melt away, I think, with more and more data coming out on the actual performance of the UAP and what we're actually finding out. And so Brandon Fugel coming to the support of Travis Taylor doesn't surprise me, because we also know that Brandon Fugel is probably a man of mystery also, and able to compartmentalize and keep secrets of his own. And so we know that there were certain rules that were set up by the previous Skinwalker Ranch landowner that had to be fulfilled by the current owner. We don't know what those rules and regulations were. I believe one of them was not to dig, and we know that they broke that one. But I believe that there were probably more crucial aspects to that agreement that he's probably keeping. And as we understand, it would probably be confidential. So confidentiality is no new topic for anybody involved in this. But it actually speaks high regards to the players involved in their ability to keep those secrets.
Well, I understand that, Tim. I greatly appreciate that. But I'll be honest with you. When I was reading this last night, my first inclination was Brandon Fugel has to fire him. He has to. If Brandon Fugel is not tied to the government, he has to fire him, no matter how good he is. Now, a lot of people will say, well, that's wrong. But the more I thought about it, the more, and when I read Fugel's statements, I realized that my own thoughts on it were very reactionary. And we don't know the true extent of the ties still between the United States government and ownership of Skinwalker Ranch regarding the phenomena. We don't.
And so
So,
why would you feel that he would have to be terminated? I'm sorry.
well, if this was, put it this way, if I all of a sudden hired someone for spaced out radio and then I found out that they were AKA a double agent working for the US government or any government, Canadian government, whatever it may be, I would feel let down that my public persona was going to take some hits. And a lot of
Mm,
people questioned Brandon Fugel on that last night and
I see.
yesterday and even into today, saying, do you not feel that you have been duped? And he was very much on the defensive about that, claiming not at all. He doesn't feel that way. He doesn't feel like he is, had the wool pulled over his eyes. He welcomes Travis Taylor doing the double duty. And you know what? Good on him for doing that. Good on him for not making rash decisions and thinking about things. But to me, it says one of two things, or one of a couple things. Either A, Brandon Fugel really is one hell of a good guy. B, he sees the potential that Travis Taylor brings because just maybe he'll be able to get some stuff confirmed through other sources. Or C, he kept him on for the sake that Taylor is doing incredible work. He's a brilliant man, and he needs them or he needs him in order to, continue pressing the ball forward on the Skinwalker court. I mean, that's just something that we have to think about. You
Right.
know,
And another way to look at it from Brandon's point of view is he may feel like, boy, did I hire well. Like I chose the top guy. And like I'm pretty sure that we're seeing very compartmentalized data right? So the stuff that we see on Skinwalker, the show, is designed just for the public. Obviously, the data that Travis Taylor is working on at that location is all given directly to his employer. And so that is compartmentalized that way. And then the work that he's doing for the government, I'm assuming, is compartmentalized for them, and the work that he did with the task force. And never the twain shall meet, I think, should theoretically be the way, if you're going to work that way. So if he's able to operate under those conditions, then good on him. I don't think that it's a conflict of interest in any way, shape, or form. I could see reactionary wanting to terminate the relationship and the occupational relationship, but I think the bigger picture here is that he probably has the top guy in the field. This is a lot of theoretical science, and so you need somebody that's flexible in the field. And so you're talking about a task force member, somebody that's boots on the ground, able to think outside of the box and figure out situations as they're happening. We have witnessed him do that even on Skinwalker, the TV show. So we know he has that ability to think as things are taking place and outside of the box. So I'm pretty sure that Brandon is seeing this as one score for the team, for him, perhaps, that he actually has one of the top scientists potentially in the country for this. So, yeah, there's definitely two ways to look at it. I can see it being controversial.
And Jonathan Davies, who's a good friend of this show, says Travis is now much better informed and able to have even more insight at the ranch, which is true. But does this not mean that because of his involvement, that maybe stuff that we would like to know will never come out of Skinwalker Ranch during its study?
Potentially. And also, is he now distracted now that he's become a public figure and well known to be a member of this task force? Will he be targeted more for interviews? Will we start seeing him on podcasts? Will it distract him from his mission and take away time from his science? And so, we have yet to see that. I would like to think that the man himself, obviously, he has a lot of information from a lot of sources. And so if anyone is in the know right now, it's Dr. Travis Taylor.
Very true. Very true. All right. Let's move on to your second topic of the night, as we only have a couple minutes here before we got to go to break at the bottom of the hour. And this is Lou Elizondo. We're going to spend some time on this because Elizondo is part of some big time news where his filing of his complaint to the Pentagon through the Inspector General became public. Do we know how it became public, Tim?
We do. It was made public through Daniel Miller and his work. And so this was a release that came out just earlier this week. It's considered a DoD hotline fraud, waste, and abuse complaint form. And so these are traditionally filled out if there's any issues within the government purview and within the DoD. And so it's a multi-page report that was released with only personal data blacked out. So 99.9% of this report was public, with the exception of a few details that may have been specific to programs. So most of it was unclassified to start with. Anyways, we can definitely breeze forward through some of it at some point. I'd love to highlight a little bit of it that I think is really pertinent information.
Well, the one thing that I noticed while reading it is that Lou Elizondo, as much as I love the guy, has terrible penmanship. Terrible penmanship. As a journalist, I got to tell you, I like neat writing.
Right.
It makes life easier. But his Dr. Chicken Scratch that he has, my goodness, it was a tough read.
Well, it tells you what his forte is,
I'm sure he can pick off anything at about 300-400 yards,
yes.
maybe 500 or more. but his writing is terrible. Terrible penmanship by Lou Elizondo on the UFO Report with Tim Seanor. We continue talking about Lou Elizondo, his Inspector General's report and complaint that he filed. We'll tell you why it's important when we come back on Spaced Out Radio next. All right, we're clear, Tim.
Cool. Fun night. You had a great guest on tonight, by the way.
Jay King is amazing.
Really, really deep, intellectual dude. Very cool to listen to. Doing great work.
Why do you got your mic on mute? You don't want to talk to me? You don't want me to sing? You don't want to sing with me?
No, I was drinking and I wasn't sure. Sometimes it's bubbly. I'm actually shy, believe it or not.
Just do it with me. Love, exciting and new.
Oh man.
Come aboard, Timmy. We're expecting you.
And mute. I'm just kidding.
Wow.
Just kidding, bud. That was a cruel joke.
And it was kind of funny. Hello, stunning Jessica S.
I didn't know this document revealed Luis Elizondo's middle name, which is cool. I didn't know that he had one before. So
was it? It's Ralph?
No.
Ernesto?
No. Does anyone in your audience know his middle name by chance?
Don't make me go look, because I'm going to
10 points. 10 points. No, you don't have to look it up. Just let's see if your audience knows.
Dave, what is your favorite Guns N' Roses song? Paradise City. Number 2 would be Rocket Queen. Number 3, Chinese Democracy. Number 4, Estranged. Number 5 would be There Was a Time. Number 6 would be You Could Be Mine. Number 7 would be Coma. Would you like me to continue? Because I got a big list.
Estrada. That could be.
Freddie.
Please continue. Freddie? Ace. I always wanted my middle name to be Ace.
Terry Hall's on the Love Boat.
Yeah, he is.
And I know I'll take a lot of heat from fellow Guns N' Roses listeners and fans. Behind Appetite for Destruction, the album Chinese Democracy is the second best album. Better than Use Your Illusions, 1 and 2. Better.
You're a fan. I get it.
But nobody gave it an opportunity because Slash and Duff weren't on the album. But it is a fantastic album. Hard to believe that came out 2008.
Is a slashless Guns N' Roses isn't Guns N' Roses.
Sure it is.
Slashless?
Sure it is. Oh yeah. Dude, if you would have
Logan got it.
If you would have seen how tight Ron Bumblefoot, THAL, DJ Ashba, and Richard Fortis were together playing a trio of electric guitars for GNR, it was incredible. incredible. To me, when I saw the opening of the tour, and then I saw them again about 9 months later in Vancouver on the Not This Lifetime tour, Slash to me looks like he's just mailing it in. He's just playing for the money. He's not playing for the actual care of the music. Yet, if you watched Bumblefoot and DJ Ashba play with Richard Fortus, dude, it was way tighter. Way tighter. Right?
Yeah.
I agree. YJ Overlander with the comment of the night here. Chinese Democracy is a masterpiece. This is why I love YJ right there. The guy knows his music. He knows his vehicles. And he's a BC boy. Love him. Love him. Here we go, everyone.
Awesome. I am also a fan.
We're rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate it. Want to remind you that if you've missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Tim Seanor is here with the UFO Report. Lou Elizondo, his letter of complaint to the Pentagon, to the Inspector General, making the rounds on UFO Twitter, and there's a lot of people cheering on their legend, cheering on their demigod of UFOs, man.
Yeah. The controversial material continues to unfold. It's an ever-changing world, and it gets more and more exciting every day. And so this new piece of information that came out earlier this week, I think, is pretty telling in the story that Lou has put forward on his leaving of his role in the government. And I would like to definitely go over some of the highlights here as Lou put this complaint form in writing and submitted it. And so named in this form are 3 complaintees, if you will. First one being Gary Reid, spelled R-E-I-D in this case, Susan Go, and Neil Tipton, who is maybe a new name for some people. In this realm, and some of the wordage that was used in this complaint form is pretty strong, Dave. And I must say, I was a little bit taken back when I first read this at some of the language that was actually used, some pretty big words. And so if I may, I'm just going to go through a couple of the questions.
Our audience will love it, man. Our audience will love it.
All right. Well, to start, they go through some very simple things, just asking who was involved and to kind of describe some of the conduct. And I'm going to skip down to some of the highlights here and just give you one of them word for word here. It says, briefly summarize how you believe our office can assist you in regarding this matter. And Lou goes ahead and writes in his opinion here on what they should do to assist. And he says that the IG should conduct a comprehensive review, inquire, and investigation into abuse of power, lying to the public, destruction of evidence, and conspiracy. These are huge words to be using in an accusation and a presentation towards disruptive behavior on a complaint form like this to the DOD, making an official complaint like this. Pretty strong words to pretty high officials. What do you think? What was your first reaction when you read this?
My first reaction was the gloves are off. All right. Like, he has had enough. You know, like a lot of people, dude, they don't seem to understand that at this time when this was filed, the Pentagon was literally erasing Elizondo's emails and files. And a lot of people like myself stated, look, this is what they allegedly did to Bob Lazar. And now we're seeing it with Elizondo. The problem is Elizondo had some very high up people like Harry Reid, rest his soul, Chris Mellon, Marco Rubio, and others who had his back. James Lukatsky had his back. And this is what doesn't make sense, is Susan Goff's office was trying to, Susan Goff, for people who don't know, she's the press secretary for the Pentagon. They were trying to erase his existence at the Pentagon. They got caught. Daniel Sheehan, being the all-out activist lawyer that he is, got involved, and that's where all of a sudden the brakes were put on by the Pentagon. And Elizondo is now fighting. We have to realize, Tim, and please correct me if I'm wrong here. Okay, and if not, blame Canada. But trying to erase a person like that from existence, that is, to me, right out of the Bourne movies, the Jason Bourne movies.
Yeah.
Where they're trying to erase him, man.
Yeah. It's another situation where we have an inconvenient truth that is escaping, and they try to put the message back in the bottle, the genie back in the bottle, and you just can't do it. And these attempts became more obvious. And fortunately for all of us, Lou Elizondo was someone that wasn't going to take that sitting down. And he did it in a very graceful way. Let's just reflect back at how he put this forth. He never named names. He explained the situation. He had his critics, and he just took it on the chin. And what we've seen is slowly over time, everything has revealed itself to support what he's been saying. And the conspiracy isn't behind Lou Elizondo, it's against him. And so now we're starting to realize that. And I think that the narrative could potentially change. This is a pretty big piece of evidence to come forward to even the skeptics at this point would have to, see that there is definitely a movement against Lou and potentially his whole team, really. But Lou is the most vocal about this. And so this new revelation, I think, is just one of many that are going to be coming forward. Let's definitely reflect back to the interviews that Lou was graceful enough to present to us. Because a lot of the information I think that we may have disregarded initially, we should re-examine, because now we can definitely see that some of the things that were predicted in those interviews are coming to light and coming forward into truth. Over to you.
Well, I think that we are going to see a lot more truth like that coming out. I think that is something that we need to see where this goes. Look, we're only in round 1 of the fight. The Pentagon, or Lou started it by coming out. The Pentagon fired back. They've traded some punches now, and now Lou is really starting coming out with the gloves off and saying, yeah, we got to go. We got to go. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I like about it. I love the feistiness. I love the anger. And, but I could never imagine, my friend, what it's like to have my career erased, number one. But number two, he's also fighting for his pension. He's fighting for his medical, his dental, his 401k, or whatever it is down there. I don't know. But he's fighting for it. And that's all he can do.
To further some of the complaint that he put in writing, he answered the following question this way: what rule, regulation, or law do you believe has been violated? And he wrote, Whistleblower Protection Act, multiple DoD directives, instructions, and Freedom of Information Act. These are all huge infringements. And so these infractions definitely were detailed and reacted upon. I mean, we've seen what happened already. We don't know the exact repercussion because a lot of that is done behind closed doors, but we've seen a change, especially with Gary Reed, for example. So he continues here saying the abuse of government. I just lost the page. Darn it. Wow. Hang on. Here we go. I apologize. It just flipped. Abuse of government authority. And illegal destruction of information. This is key. And that's exactly what you were just saying. So in writing here, he is describing the illegal destruction of information that is in direct correlation to the loss of his emails. And so he's asking for an investigation into that here in writing. That's huge.
Well, it is huge. And if he wins this, what does that say about the U.S. government, that they are willing to literally erase somebody off the face of the planet?
Yeah, it's a boys' club. It seems like it's a boys' club filled with elitists, doesn't it? That stick up for each other, look out for each other, and have their own set of rules. And if you step out of line, or if you're a wheel that squeaks too loud and you're squeaking the truth, perhaps, or something that's dissident to their program, then they're going to deal with you in one way or another. And if that means deleting you from the program and then erasing you from the history of the program, then, that's a broken system. What we're seeing is obviously a broken system. And I think it was Eisenhower that was telling us to be careful of this kind of censorship. Very early on, we were seeing that this kind of program erasing and black budget within the government just isn't a healthy way to go. And it's just going to breed more malignant undermining of the truth. And so this is just the start. I mean, we are going to see heads roll. I think we really are naming names. This is now publicly bringing out the people that were targeted, as people that were falling out of line in the Pentagon. This is big news. It really is. And it doesn't speak highly for the people in power.
All right, let's get to the final topic tonight. You had a chance to check out the UFO Witness series, 2 episodes, 1 review. It's on the Travel Channel. What's your thoughts going on there?
Yeah, UFO Witness season 2 has come out, and they just released the first episode. And so I actually got to personally work on the Canadian version of this, and my family's case was on the Canadian version. So I'm always excited when the American version releases a new episode. And so Ben Hansen brings on Melissa Tittle this season, and the two of them go and interview UFO witnesses all over. The first series pretty much covered reinvestigating a lot of the cases that were not highlighted publicly as much in Blue Book, some of the old Blue Book cases. And so they were reinvestigating and taking a modern twist on analysis of some of the older Blue Book cases. And now this season is really focusing more again on modern witnesses and investigations. And so the first episode highlights shapeshifter UFOs and has Terry Lovelace as one of the witnesses on there. And Terry is chock full of great stories, and being ex-military himself tends to lend a very credible story when he describes some of the witness events. But shapeshifter UFOs, I mean, that's a really interesting topic, and one that I think, bears investigation from us all, because it seems like we're starting to see more and more cases of shape-shifting UFOs appearing, in the news and on the internet. And I think even recently there was one, I feel like it was over Denver, It looked like it was morphing and changing. Um, Boy, there's so many now. But I can tell you, Dave, if you guys are into it, on Travel Channel, catch season 2, UFO Witness.
What makes this one a little bit different than what we're used to seeing? Never mind that your family is in one of these, but just in general, what makes it different?
Well, I think Ben Hansen brings a lot to it. He's somebody that actually investigates. He just doesn't take a witness account. He tries to investigate deeply the topic that the witness is bringing up. So, for example, he would revisit the site. He tries to recapture evidence. He reviews the evidence with the witness and tries to see if they can come up with a mundane explanation. And so, what they also are doing is they'll take um, a location and see if they can redo it. And so, meaning could they refilm the phenomenon at that location by some mundane way, or the phenomenon demonstrating itself in another way. So it's more boots on the ground investigation. I think UFO Witness is kind of one of those shows that um, brings witness accounts a little more to a reality for people, giving a little bit more in-depth descriptions, and you get to see the witness's reaction a lot more in this show. And like I said, Ben Hansen really does add a lot of credibility. So yeah.
You know what, though? Here's my thing, okay? Nothing against Ben Hansen.
Yeah.
I've met him. He's a nice guy. He really is a nice guy. But this is what? His 7th show of the same thing with a different title. Him and Josh Gates are having a race. It reminds me of the old AWA when every 2 weeks Dusty Rhodes would pin Ric Flair, and then 2 weeks later Ric Flair would pin Dusty Rhodes for the World Championship. I mean, that's what we're looking at here. It's Ric
Right.
Flair and Dusty Rhodes going back in the day and just pinfalling each other every couple of weeks.
Yeah, trying to outdo each other with evidence. Here's the thing. I wanna watch that race. I mean, if these guys are stumbling to bring me the best evidence they can, I'm all in. And that's kind of what it is. I mean, Skinwalker Ranch, and I mean, all these shows that are kind of touching on this topic. I'm excited to see what they bring. The same way I'm excited to see a new Triangle video, even if it's not 100% convincing. I want to see it because, you know, even the fakes, I think, deserve research because you know what to look for. What we're doing right now is we're searching the skies and we're detailing what a bird looks like in every way so we can rule out birds. We need to be able to do that in this topic too. And so I feel like Eyewitness UFO is just another show that's doing that. We're trying to rule things out here. So the more eyes on it, the better.
But I mean, dude, it's the same thing with the paranormal shows. Same people, same locations, different television show title. I mean, how many times do we have to see the same people go to Waverly Hills and Gettysburg and Bobby McGee's and Alcatraz? Every time I turn on a show, we're at Bobby McGee's, we're at Waverly Hills. It's the exact same show.
See, well, I feel you on this, except I've got to flip this because you're talking to someone that's relatively new to the topic. So I'm still excited over those shows. And I feel like perhaps those are for me and for my group. I'm not well educated on this topic, as you know. This is all very new to me. I'm still in the learning stage. And so these shows are entertaining to me. And like I can still watch this season's Ghost Adventures and get something out of it. Whereas somebody that's been watching it since season 1 may just be like, oh man, another EVP. Well, I'm like impressed by that. So I'm definitely understanding where you're coming from with like a deep foundation and understanding this is old news to you. For a lot of us newbies out here, it's still really entertaining and new. So when I see UFO Witness, I'm like, wow, there's other witnesses out there like me that have similar stories. Like that's why I get excited. That's why I did the show. Because for me it was just part of maybe getting it out there. Someone else saw something like me. I'm still very excited about the topic. So I definitely get why somebody that's looking for something new that has seen it all may be a little bit disappointed in these shows that are potentially appearing to rehash it. For me, it's all new and I still love it. And you know what? I also love the stuff on dogmen and Bigfoot and ghosts. I know nothing about it, I've never experienced it. So these shows that kind of scratch the surface lightly, I think, do a service for people that are trying to get into it into a way that's real, because, these are all potentially real topics with real things that people are experiencing. So please bring on as many shows on this topic as possible. I'm the other side of the coin from you, Dave. I want more of these shows.
Oh, I want more. I want
Yeah.
more. Tim, all I'm saying, dude, and I agree with you a lot with what you're saying, because every day there's a new viewer. Every day. Okay? But give me something new. Okay? I'm not saying I
Yeah.
have an issue with Ben Hansen or Josh Gates or anybody like that. Just give me something new. Like your story or somebody else's story or a different location.
Oh,
You
right.
know,
I see what you're saying. They keep going to Waverly Hills. They keep going to Penthurst. I see what you're saying.
that's what I'm
Um,
saying. We
it's
don't need
hard
to
to
have
find new places, right? And if you're trying to give your show cred, then you probably have to go somewhere that's well known, right? Potentially. I'm just guessing. But like, where would you go? Where would you send your team of investigators, Dave? Let's flip it for a sec. Like, do you know of, or do you don't want to give it away? Don't give it
no,
away.
I don't mind giving it away. I don't
All
mind
right.
at all. Jarhead, Manitoba,
I've
where
never heard of it.
where a UFO allegedly crashed. First Nations believe they saw a crash. Military went out there in the middle of 50 below, 40 below zero weather, stating that they were doing military winter exercises on reserve land. Doesn't happen. Does not happen. They cordoned off the area. This is what I believe. They cordoned off the area. There were eyewitnesses to it. And some say they saw something big go out on a truck.
Hmm.
That's the stories we have to dig for.